we're seeing fissures emerge already, and we're seeing these emerge in different regions. And this goes back to governance. So you're asking basically the central question about how is the Taliban going to govern? And we're seeing these different groups interact with the Taliban, well, especially the Haqqanis who are part of the government. ISK is a bit different. But I think the bigger question that I'm going to be looking for is, how is the Taliban going to govern? And this will tell us a lot about the cohesion with the Haqqanis and others. The Taliban have been handed the keys to one of the most centralized states in the world. And in fact, I think we talk about some of the original sins after 2001. I would argue that one of the biggest sins the international community made was through the Bonn process, where they resurrected an old authoritarian constitution from the monarchy period, and they put democratic institutions on top of it. The democracy in Afghanistan I argue that it never failed. It wasn't actually really tried. That the country remained very heavily centralized. All of the bureaucracy came from the monarchy, even from the country's Soviet-influenced past, beginning in the 1950s. In fact, there's a lot of parallels actually between India and Afghanistan and how they went about building institutions. And there was actually a lot of learning in Afghanistan from India beginning in the 1950s. The Afghans began 5-year plans in 1956, shortly after Khrushchev's visit to Afghanistan. He was in India first, and he took this to Afghanistan. So these government institutions are highly centralized, very highly centralized. The Taliban now have control of them. So one of the questions we're beginning to see is, now who is going to appoint who at the provincial level? And so we've already begun to see protests in Faryab province, for example. There was a very powerful Uzbek commander who was associated with, he was a Taliban commander who had fought with the Taliban for 20 years. The Taliban had removed him from power. They feared that he was getting too influential. So there's a concern that the Taliban are going to make the same mistakes the previous government made, not allow local governance, not allow some breathing space, not allow some more decentralized authority to emerge, because the central government is always going to see other groups who gain control as threats to them. And that's going to be the problem. And that's why I think that this alliance right now between the different factions, the Kandahari faction, the Haqqani faction, isn't going to last for very long.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. धन्यवाद, नमस्कार.